Just kidding, everybody. It's actually me doing a little intro. This is Cliff Fleck with IQAir, and just want to welcome everybody to the final day. IQAir, we're super stoked and super happy to be the diamond sponsor of this awesome event. On a personal level, it's my first time in Ghana, in Africa. It's been a beautiful experience so far. I don't ever want to leave, but my wife wants me to come back, unfortunately. So that's a shame, but I'll be back soon. I just want to say that please check out our booth in the other room when you get a chance, if you haven't already. Our goal at IQAir is to just bring air quality monitoring all around the world, to empower everyone to have cleaner air. And our air visual platform is really the way that we're trying to do that. Our goal within the year is to double, if not more, the amount of monitoring that is in Africa. So please come find me. I can try and help connect you with monitors from our company, get you up on our platform. Our data contributors who put their data up on the platform, they get access to like a really cool enterprise dashboard so that you can look at your data, slice and dice it and share it, put it up on your website. There's all kinds of really cool tools that you can use. Yeah, just really, really excited. Let's make the best day, final day, the best day. And can't wait to talk to you again and be back in Ghana as soon as I can. So cheers. And on to you guys.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Victor Indasi. I'm a program manager at C40. And today, together with Ross, we'll be taking you through the morning session. Ross, please, introduction.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome again today. My name is Dr. Rose Alani. I am the group lead for the Air Quality Monitoring Research group of the University of Lagos. I'm an associate professor of environmental chemistry. So we'll talk later.
Thank you so much. And the speaker from, who just spoke after us, the organizers save the best for the last. So don't even blink. You miss a lot if you do. And to start us off, this morning will be Dr. Simon Sambou. We'll be giving you more information about what we do at C40 and how we work with cities to promote breathable air. So Simon, please come.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Dr. Rose. Hi, everyone. My name is Simon Sambou. I'm the C40 technical advisor for air quality in West Africa. So today I'm going to present to you our activities in West African African cities about empowering cities on air quality database evidence to support decision making and policy implementation. Okay, thank you. So next slide, please. So let me briefly introduce you C40 for those who don't know it. C40 is a global network of mayors leading the world that are collaborating to deliver the most urgent action needed to confront climate crisis as well as air pollution. Next. So air pollution is becoming a concern around the world, particularly in the global south cities, mainly because most of the pollutants are expected to grow by 2060. And this is mainly due to the increase expected in the population in global south cities, especially. And this pollution increase has been monitored, and it shows that most of the cities are above, most of the pollution in the cities are above WHO guidelines. So this is a huge concern. Next, please. So what in Africa, it is expected that the premature deaths are above 1 million annually. And however, Africa could prevent thousands of premature death. But this could be done only if there are changes in policies. That's why C40 is working with cities to strengthen the capacity on equality management and also increase the capacity on data collection, data analysis, and policy implementation in order to move toward meeting WHO guidelines. Thank you. Please, next slide. Next slide. So what we do is to engage with cities in two ways. The first one is to bring together mayors to take a commitment to engage with other mayors by implementing bold clean air actions. And the second level of engagement, we engage with city technical staff by coordinating networks of equality and also collaborating on peer-to-peer learning exchange, and also take into account on the planning of equality improvement to integrate climate action plans, as most of the cities in Africa, for example, have developed climate action plans. So it is important for cities to align on the planning of improving equality with what they have done on climate action planning to increase co-benefits and also the synergies with national governments. And finally, to provide technical assistance and facilitate partnership between different institutions to support equality implementation. Please. So within C40, we have several accelerator, what we call accelerator. But in the case of equality, we have what we call a C40 Clean Air Accelerator, which is the largest one, implemented by more than 50% of all C40 cities, with mainly two commitments. The first one is for cities to establish baseline emission levels to set ambitious targets, ambitious emission reduction targets. And the second one is for cities who have committed to improve air quality in their cities to implement new substantive policies and programs to address the top causes of air pollution. Next. So why do we need the African cities for clean air? So it should be recognized that in many cities in Africa, there are high level of pollutions that are above WHO guidelines. And this exposes city residents to health risk. However, there are a lack of data. And this lack of data is could be found on the lack of emission source apportionment, capacity building, lack of enough funding for cities to implement the policies. And there are also lack of power in some of the cities because all the cities do not have the same level of power. And to do so, and they are collaborating with national level to implement. So there are lack of jurisdictions over the sources, capacity for enforcement, etc. So what is needed to clean the air is to have more or additional resources and capacity building to train city staff and to get opportunities in order to improve the health impact. And this could be done by focusing on air quality management planning. Next. So the program goals are to connect African cities for peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, to build their capacity among cities, and support cities to identify and evaluate, prioritize effective measures to mitigate air pollution, and also build awareness around air pollution, and also increase political engagement by inspiring mayors to take bold actions. Next. So our different intervention, we are focusing on 11 cities in the continent, but mainly focusing on 5 technical assistance projects in Dakar, Lagos, Johannesburg, and Durban, and also Addis Ababa. So in Dakar, we are supporting the city to develop its first air quality management plan associated with an air quality communication strategic plan. So it's important to communicate on air quality. I will come back to that. And in Lagos, we have 2 components of technical assistance. The first one is to support the city to have an integrated GHG and air pollution emission inventory and health analysis and air quality monitoring, associated also with a second component, which is to implement an air quality sensor procurement and deployment in the city. So in Johannesburg, we have a local sensor feasibility study, and in Durban, a controlled fuel policy development and energy efficiency standard for buildings in Addis. So all of these projects are ongoing and are currently generating an amount of data that will be used to inform policies in the different cities. Next. So the other component is focusing on sensor procurement and deployment. So we have 2 examples here, and the first one is Lagos, that is currently ongoing. Recently, we have launched an RFP for sensor manufacturers to bid and to be able to provide some support of Lagos by purchasing air quality sensor, local sensor, to help the city to have ownership on the data, air quality data. And the second one that had been done 2 years ago was with Lagos, with Addis Ababa, to support on air quality, accessibility, and clarity of data and information platform by collaborating and supporting supporting the city's air quality management plan implementation and establishing a strategy for the cities to implement its plan. So the goal is of this sensor deployment is to ensure that cities have access to data, to ensure that the equipment that are deployed are secured, and ensure data ownership to cities. Because the challenge is that main cities are facing is to have access to data, and for them to their job supporting national government on their effort of communicating and implementing policies. So we believe that cities can do more and have to get that data to be able to support national government efforts. So the objective is also to have real-time data accessibility, and then to have capacity building on equipment maintenance, etc. Next. So to do it's important for that for local sensor manufacturers to build capacity of the city, for example, to be able to have also to sign some protocols of data sharing for 2 years or 5 years, etc. And the other component is the capacity building aspect of our project, on which we have hosted 3 webinars on BEDMAP to guide on data collection, and in order to estimate the health and economic impact of air pollution, followed by a 3 days workshop training in Durban, and also a second round of webinar series on how to communicate about equality. And the first step was to contextualize, to bring cities together to contextualize their need. They try to understand the current situation on equality, the techniques they are using, what challenges they are facing, and also what are the opportunities around communicating about equality. And the second step was to introduce them an C40 in-house new tool called Equality for Urban Action, AQUA tool, which was used to generate some information to see how equality could be improved by implementing ambitious action. For example, actions that that was identified in the climate action plan, and that can generate co-benefits in terms of environment benefits, health benefits, and economic benefits. How much or how many deaths could be reduced from the baseline to the modeled year? So to allow cities to have some example of how what is the value of the effort they are making, and then communicate about the results to allow decision making. Next. So we are hosting in 2 weeks a workshop in Addis to convene all city officials together to think about how to communicate, make some progress, and also an equality communication toolkit has been developed on with targeted messaging on equality terminologies, jargons, and key messages that cities could use to communicate on equality, and to help them also setting communication goals and measuring the effectiveness of their goals. And but communicating around equality could be strategic, because usually the value or the data that are generated by the scientists do not go to the end users. And equality is like meteorological data. So if that data do not go to the end users, so it's obsolete after a few days. So it's good to inspire using that data by communicating and bring hope to the communities. Next. So the other component of the project is to encourage cities to have a peer-to-peer learning exchange between two cities, and we have had 3 experience on that. The first one was on the benchmark tool analysis, where we have paired Johannesburg, Durban, and Freetown. And the second one was with local sensors procurement and deployment. I think one of the C40 cities, first C40 cities has had this experience was Johannesburg, and then we allowed them to have a peer-to-peer learning exchange with Lagos for them to know what are the process, etc., in order to prepare themselves on the for the success of the implementation of the locus sensor. And the one that are planned is to allow Lagos and Nairobi to have a peer-to-peer learning exchange on the process that they have used, the approaches on developing integrated GHG and equality emissions inventory. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sambou. Keep those questions to Dr. Sambou. Dr. Sambou, you can sit there and wait for us. Next, we're going to have Ms. Esi from Ghana APA. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm not Esi, I'm Selena. Esi couldn't come because she's been assigned another equally important assignment. So I'm standing in for Esi. Okay, so the outline of the presentation will look at the legal framework for environmental management and the mandate of the Ghana Environmental Protection Agency, air quality monitoring efforts, the findings from the monitoring activities, and then the outcome of the monitoring activities. Also look at the sources of data for the standard that was developed, the process that was followed, and then the plan for implementation of the standard, and also air quality index, and then the way forward. Okay, by legal framework for environmental management, the Constitution of Ghana, Article 36(9) and the 41K requires the state and every citizen to take measures to protect and safeguard the environment. And also the Environmental Policy and then Environmental Protection Act that established the Environmental Protection Agency, and then the Environmental Assessment Regulations, the Hazardous and Electronic Waste Control Management Act, and the regulation, the Ghana Standard for Air Quality and Vehicular Emissions, all require the agency to ensure that development does not compromise the quality of the environment. And also the Sustainable Development Goals 3, 6, 11, and 13 requires that appropriate measures be implemented to reduce air emissions, water pollution, hazardous waste, soil pollution, and also to combat climate change and its impact on the citizenry. The next slide, please. The agency is mandated to oversee, coordinate, and regulate environmental issues. And the mission is to co-manage and protect and enhance the country's environment, as well as seek common solutions to global environmental problems. And there are 19 functions in the Act. And the ones that relate to our discussion for this conference, the first one is the development of a comprehensive environmental quality database to guide policy formulation and implementation. The agency is also mandated to conduct research, surveys, and monitorings into environmental issues and prescribe guidelines, standards, and regulations relating to the pollution of air, water, land, and any other forms of environmental pollution, including the discharge of waste and control of toxic substances. So in order to gather some data to inform decision-making, the agency established the Environmental Quality Department to be the lead in the agency's effort to attain the mandate of overseeing the quality of the environment. And monitoring locations were established along roadside, industrial, residential, and commercial areas. And pollutants that were monitored include particulates and gases. And monitoring was conducted using the mini volume and high volume samplers. But in recent times, through the support of some of the partners, reference grid monitors and low cost sensors have also been added. And for particulate monitoring, for the gases, the diffusion tubes, especially the dragger tubes, are used in the monitoring of the gases. So these are some of the monitoring equipment. At the far end, you see the reference monitor at Legon, the University of Ghana, the physics department that some of us visited. And then we also have the minival samplers to the middle and then the to my right. So findings from our monitoring activities, the major contributors of air pollution were identified as from the transport sector, industry, and also from human settlement. And from human settlement, specifically open burning of waste, and also the use of firewood in cooking. And from natural sources, the harmattan and sea salt were identified as the main contributors of air pollution. And from the monitoring activities, the levels of the particulates, the monitoring activities were centered in Accra. And the results shows that some of the results were meeting, others were not meeting. And for the gases, the levels were normally lower as at the time that the monitoring was conducted. But this has been done for a while, and there is the need for it to be repeated so that we know the actual trend of the gases current. So what is the outcome of the monitoring activities? A database has been created, which is updated with a new data set as and when we do the monitoring. And then from the data that was gathered in the past, we developed the air quality guidelines in 2000 to regulate air emissions. And then subsequent to that, we also, because we do the continuous monitoring, the data that was gathered was used to update the guidelines. And this formed the basis for development of the Ghana standard that we have currently. And what are the sources of data that was used in the development of the standard? As I mentioned, EPA does monitoring. So from our monitoring activities, the data that we gathered, and from the environmental assessment regulations, industries are supposed to acquire permits. And part of the conditions, they are supposed to do monitoring. So the monitoring data from the industry was also used. And then we also considered data from studies and monitoring and research activities that have been conducted by other people, individuals. And we also looked at international standard, especially from developing countries that have similar geographical conditions as Ghana. So how was the standard developed? First, an internal committee was formed from within the agency. And then the committee gathered all the relevant data in-house and external sources from what I mentioned, research work that has been done in other international organizations. Then we checked for the data integrity through verifications and validation. I mentioned that industries are supposed to do monitoring. So when we get the data, we also go back to check to verify the data that the industry have submitted. And then all the data that we have, we did the validation, setting the limits, and then checking for the outliers and making sure that the data is complete for use. And then we selected the relevant parameters based on their significant risk posed through direct or indirect risk to human health and the environment. The standard is for health and environment. Then the limits were set based on the data that was gathered. And where we didn't have data for any of the parameters of concern, we also considered international standard. Then we compared the standard and the limits, the permissible levels, with international standards like the World Health Organization and also IFC. Then the zero draft standard was compiled. National stakeholder workshop was organized to review the draft. So we brought stakeholders from all angles, academia, industry, metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. We brought all the stakeholders together to review the standard. And then in Ghana, the Ghana Standards Authority is the body mandated to publish standard. So we collaborated with them, and then a National Technical Review Committee was formed from departments, ministries, departments, and agencies, metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, the private sector, academia, to review the draft. And then the comments that were received from the National Technical Committee were incorporated into the draft. It was finalized and then published and gazetted. So the standards, the first one is the Ghana Standard for Environment and Health Protection, requirements for ambient air quality, point source or stack emissions. And it sets the requirements for ambient air quality, stack emissions. It provides the permissible levels, the parameters, and then the test methods that are supposed to be used for the monitoring. The next slide, please. The other one is the Ghana Standard for Environment and Health Protection, requirements for motor vehicle emissions. So it also sets the requirements for exhaust emissions for motor vehicles, as well as tractors, farm equipment such as combine harvesters, mobile or industrial construction machines like the excavators. And it requires that monitoring of emissions level be carried out every year for private motor vehicles and for commercial vehicles every 6 months. And we're looking at using the results from the testing to be part of the requirements for issuance of the roadworthy certificate. And how are we implementing the standard? For us to be able to enforce the standard effectively, we need the regulations. So we are working on the regulations. It's been developed. Stakeholder engagement has been done. It has to go through parliamentary approval. So that process is ongoing. And then the permitted undertakings, when we look at the environmental assessment regulations, there are a number of activities listed there that are required to obtain permit. So all those ones are supposed to do the monitoring. So the enforcement of the regulations will also look at that. All those permitted undertakings will have to comply with the standard. Then we have developed the air quality management plan. The first one was developed in 2018, and it is being revised. The 2018 one covered the Greater Accra metropolitan area, but now we are reviewing it to cover the entire Greater Accra region. And the main aim is to bring all relevant stakeholders on board so that we can tackle the main issues that are contributing to air pollution. And the agency has also entered into public-private partnership with a stakeholder to monitor air quality on real-time continuous basis. So the monitoring equipment will be installed at identified locations so that we can get the data in real time. Then the air quality index, most of us are aware of this. It's a communication tool to convey to the general public air quality conditions in a standard framework. And it transforms weighted values of air pollutants into single number with its health implications. It gives information on air quality in an area and its associated health effects. And Ghana adopted the use of the US air quality index system in 2015. Currently, we started sharing some information to the public, but it wasn't continuous. But currently, there's one station that continuously we are sharing the AQI with the public for the teledyne monitor that is installed at the University of Ghana. But besides that, we also communicate air quality information to the general public through flyers, print and electronic media, using training programs and seminars. Okay, so from our translating the concentrations to the index, for concentration of PM 2.5 between 0 and 12, the AQI range of 0, that is for AQI range for 0 to 50, which is a green color, and which indicates that the health condition, air quality in that area is good. For concentration between 12 and 35, the AQI range is 50 to 100, which indicates that the condition is 0, it's moderate. 35 to 55, unhealthy, the AQI is 101 to 150, up to the hazardous, which looks at 250 to 500. Okay, so what is the importance of the air quality index? It provides the status of air quality and its health implication in a given area. And it's easier to share the information with the public and for them to understand once you are relating the air quality with health. It allows the public to take informed decisions on places to visit and what precautions that they need to take. And once there is standard and then we are sharing, it also triggers a discussion on whether the standards are working or not. The next slide, please. And then what is the way forward? So we intend to collaborate with key stakeholders to implement the interventions in the AQMP. As I mentioned, we've revised the AQMP, And this month we are meeting the key stakeholders to also get their input into the plan. And implementation of the regulations to enforce the standard. Like I mentioned, we are developing the regulations. So once the regulation is passed, then we'll be able to enforce the standard effectively. And also the introduction of the real-time monitoring monitoring in high impact undertakings will also provide data, and it will enable the agency to see areas that urgent act needs to be taken to address specific issues. And we also intend to enhance our awareness creation efforts so that the public will get to know exactly what the conditions of air quality in the country is. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much. We go to a virtual session. Is a presenter from Nigeria online?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Titilope Akosa. Non-governmental organization based in Lagos, Nigeria. Maybe at the end of this program, I will tell you what we do in our organization. Basically, it's a development organization, and we do a lot on climate change, gender issues, governance, and development. Thank you. And this morning, I'm going to present to you enhancing community engagement in sustainable urban planning. I decided to first of all look at what is sustainable urban planning. I know I'm just going to be speaking to the converted on this, but then it's still also very important for us to understand how we dive into this important topic. So it refers to the process of designing and developing cities and urban areas in a way that considers environmental, social. Great. So just like I said, it's sustaining urban planning refers to the process of designing and developing cities and urban areas in a way that considers environmental, social, and economic factors in order to create a livable and resilient community, or you may say livable cities too. Then pulling it together with clean air is essential for health, well-being, and overall quality of life. It's a crucial component of sustainable urban planning, because if we have a good spatial planning in our cities, we talk around good public amenities, we talk about clean environment, and we also talk about clean air also. So it's a whole component of having a well-planned urban environment. Yeah. Poor air can be can have detrimental effects on human health, leading to respiratory and cardiovascular problems. These are most of the important issues that we as human beings really need to actually ensure that we take seriously. And then communities, they are major actors in sustainable urban planning and clean air initiatives, whether we like it or not, because every other thing that we are doing in the urban space are also thinking around clean air is just for the betterment of human existence. So everything is interconnected there. Our actions or inactions as community members, as human beings, can either make or mar sustainable urban planning and clean air initiatives. So it depends on the way we as humans also perceive it, the way we take it seriously, the way we address it. So all these things are very important. They are all interconnected, and human beings are right in the center of it all. So why community participation? We need to ask ourselves, just as I've said, everything we do in the urban space, whether you are thinking of good amenities, you are thinking of public transport, it's really for the betterment of the human being who lives within that space. And every other thing also must align. So livable cities and clean air is particularly about communities. Without the community, cities will remain dead. The purpose is the city, ensuring equitable access to public amenities, affordable housing, clean environment, and promoting social cohesion and inclusivity is all about people and the community. So community has first-hand and valuable experience of local quality issues. Their knowledge can provide important context, and understanding, helping to identify specific sources of pollution. This is very key because we are the human beings that live in our communities, in our localities. We know it better than an outsider, and we'll be able to tell you what is happening within our community, even though we may not put a specific, what they call it, title or acronym, whatever it is to it, but we could explain it really. And that's why communities are very, very important in the whole of this context. Yeah, community can help create a platform for awareness, advocacy about importance of clean air and health benefits. Very, very important. Human beings need to drive this. Human beings need to do a lot of education around this. We need to teach ourselves. We need to inculcate it into our own socialization processes. Then putting communities at the heart of decision-making in urban planning and clean air initiatives can foster a sense of ownership, promote transparency, and ensure needs and aspirations of the communities are addressed. So what strategies can we use for enhancing community engagement? I really needed to go through this before I go through a bit of some of the actions that we've had on ground here in Lagos. Yes, public awareness is very key. We look at community consultations, must be regular. It must not be a one-off theme. It's something that needs to continue regularly so that people understand what it's happening. People understand which way the direction of public policy is going towards urban planning and clean air issues. Also, they also need to give feedback also to government and to all stakeholders. Let them know whether whatever it's been, interventions that have been put in place is also working for the people or not. Then establishing clear communication channels with community, very, very important. Then engaging with diverse community groups, especially women's group, incorporating local knowledge and cultural context in planning processes. These are very, very important because if you don't look at the cultural context against, you may get it wrong because where you place some of your local sensors, if the community does not want it, you know, they will not take ownership or responsibility for it. They're working with communities to track clean air initiatives. This is very, very important. We need community voices around us, these issues. We need to track what government is doing. We need to know whether it is satisfying the people and it's also working for the people. Then gathering feedback from community on clean air initiatives. We can use technology to do that. There are some apps where people can use to gather feedbacks. And there are other effective means that some other initiatives have used around the world. So in Lagos, we have the Clean Air projects. Most of the important things they've done, really, though I could not capture all of them, just a few of them here. They did do a lot around trash for cash with community people. So community people gather their trash and exchanges for some money. And then those trash goes for recycling. Also, it's helped us to remove plastic from the community, of course, contributing to clean air. Clean cooking solutions also, using gas, LPG gas for cooking. And we all know that cooking with clean solutions also help our health and well-being, especially for women whose primary main area of I would say domestic chores is also cooking and attending to the family. And then air quality monitoring also. They've placed some air quality monitoring gadgets in places around the city, also to monitor air quality. Yeah. And then they're also doing a lot of projects around air quality in Lagos State. And I'm sure Dr. Alani would be much more conversant with that and would have also explained what they are doing in that regard. And we have a Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, which is also seen to all this. So it's a place where we are also prioritizing clean air in our cities, and it's one of the cities where we know that we are having a lot of implementation around clean air for our citizens. And then there is a whole lot of advocacy and training also for community people and even for young people. Also, I can remember that there was this youth citizen science project, which was done in Lagos. And I think Accra City also was part of that important intervention. So in my organization, just like I've told you, we also work on clean air, but we integrate it with most of our projects. We have the school environmental-based club that are in schools, but we focus on private schools because the Lagos State government is focusing on public school. So we believe that all children in all schools, whether public or private, needs to understand this, and also they are part of our community, they are part of our people, and they also need to take action also. So we as civil society, we decided to focus on the private school. So as of now, we've trained over 3,000 students on clean air, tree planting, climate change, and environmental sustainability. We've also gone to communities around Nigeria. We've gone to 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. We've built capacity of over 1,000 community people across Nigeria. And this was leveraged through our net zero project on how to reduce carbon emissions and how to address the issue of air quality and climate change, and then adopting clean cooking solutions. We have we worked in Lagos, we worked in Abuja, and some of our other partners also worked in I think Gombe, and some in the Niger Delta. We went around those 6, and we even conducted an online survey to understand the perception of community people about all these issues. And I think the result will be out in the next 1 week. Yeah, I think we have a total sample of 1,200 respondents, because we really wanted to know what's all these issues all about, whether they understand what air quality is, whether they understand why we need to reduce carbon emission, and what are the linkages between carbon emission and air quality and all these issues around climate change. So we will come out with that result in the next 1 week. So if you see, these are some of the pictures of things we have done. The schools, we have about 20 schools in Lagos, and communities, we are still doing more around communities. Apart from that, we also trained media people also on reporting all these issues. And after that training, we gave them homework. They need to do a lot of documentary, whatever media intervention they think will increase public awareness around air quality, net zero, clean cooking solutions. So one of the assignments we gave to one of them, now produce a YouTube video. I think if you click on this link, you will see where they discovered a particular community in Lagos, between Lagos and Ogun State, where there's massive air pollution. And I will urge you to go and click this link and watch it on YouTube. And as an organization, we worked with about 3 partners. If I can remember, I can see it now. On the Clean Air Day, we decided to look at the topic, promoting clean air in Nigeria, a call for collaborative awareness and action. So we partner with Rena Clip Foundation. We partner also with, University of Lagos, Center for Housing Development, and the United States Embassy in Nigeria, and then University of Lagos. So these are our partners, and we intend to continue on a quarterly basis to continue to create awareness and around air quality. Our next webinar is going to be in December, early December, and we are going to be looking at the shipping environment, the kind of air quality issues around the shipping environment. And the reason is really because there's a whole lot around blue economy, and people are looking at life underwater and issues, and we want to actually see what is the contribution of all these into our air quality. And we know that Lagos is a coastal environment, and we have a lot of ships coming into the state. So it's a very important thing we want to do, and it's going to be an in-person, and we'll still have online. It's going to be hybrid. So we spoke to civil society also, and we also looked at it from the perspective of climate justice. We look at it from the perspective of human rights approach to addressing clean air issues. So we did that in Abuja. We have about 30 civil society organizations from across Nigeria who were part of that training. And yep, I think I'll go to the next slide. So what are the lessons we learned in all this? Engagement with community stakeholders have revealed some air pollution hotspots for us, where every day people are telling us where there is a whole lot of air quality issues. And it was because of our advocacy that revealed that documentary we got on the YouTube, and a lot more are still coming from the media because of the assignment we gave to them. And once they come out, we will share these links. Then 2, communities have expressed interest to know more about air quality and its impacts on health and well-being, particularly its impacts on air quality or reproductive functions of women. These are very, very important things because there are some important reports from the World Bank, Lagos State World Bank report on air quality in Nigeria, which says that air quality could affect women's reproductive functions. So these are areas in which we really want to know more, and committee have expressed interest to know more. Then 3, communities are willing to have air quality monitoring sensors placed in their communities, and they're willing to take ownership and learn how to document data from the sensors. These are things that when we see community ownership, these things will work, and it will give us a sustainability around some of the projects on air quality that is being implemented by the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, the University of Lagos, and some other key stakeholders in Lagos. Then communities need more capacity building to be able to use air quality monitoring data for advocacy. This is very important. We need this data, especially for us as civil society, to work with community, to train them, to help them understand the data and what they need to advocate to government and work with government to ensure that their issues and needs are taken care of. Then 5, the need for community to understand human rights-based approach to sustainable urban planning and clean air for effective advocacy. This is very, very important because most of them understand human rights, but linking into air quality issues is still something that is just emerging, and we have taken it up. We have been discussing it with them, and then we also plan to have a capacity building around this area. And the need for more research on community perception. This is very, very important. We still need more research around this area. Then 7, the need to initiate more projects on community air quality monitoring. Yes, we need community projects around this, much more different from the technical aspect of it, where scientists are involved, where they do all the technical issues and data, but yet we need a separate project that enables community to understand it in their own way and do it in their own way and communicate it in their own way. Then 8, building the capacity of communities have empowered them to identify activities in the community that contributes to air pollution. Right now, they know when they see something that can pollute their community, they know what it is, they know who to contact, and they know who to talk to. Yeah. So, concluding now. Community involvement in clean air initiatives bring together local knowledge, raises awareness, fosters ownership, encourages collaboration, and ensure that solutions are equitable and effective. And by actively engaging the community, clean air initiatives can be more successful and sustainable in the long run. So our organization, this is our mission, Nigeria, our vision, and some of our projects that we have, just some of them. And then some of our pictures, activities, our partners. Thank you. Really appreciate this opportunity to present.
Thank you so much. We've unfortunately come to the end of the presentations, so prepare your questions, and Dr. Alani will be taking you through that.
Thank you so much. We had 3 presenters. We had Dr. Simon, who spoke on empowering cities with air quality data and evidence to inform policies and decision-making. And you did justice to it. And then we had Esi, or Selena, standing in for Esi, speaking on air quality standards and the importance of an AQI for Ghana. And then we just had, it was very interesting and informing. And then we just had Titilope Akosa from Lagos, Nigeria, who spoke on enhancing community engagement in sustainable urban planning and development. She did justice to it, and in some of those her projects, I was part of it. So the floor is open now for questions for our speakers.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Kwabena Fusuamankwa. My question is going to the rep from EPA Ghana. From her submission, she said that the data were mostly collected within Accra. And I don't know whether the AKY they generated is also based on the data they collected over Accra. So if that is the case, and I conduct a study in Bunahafo, can I adopt Accra's AKY and apply it to Bunahafo? Thank you.
Okay, you can respond.
Thank you so much. The AQMP, you're talking about the AQI. Yes, the AQI, it's location specific. As I mentioned, what we are sharing is for what we are monitoring in Accra. Okay, so the data that we have for the Accra monitoring stations, what I showed was for Legon. So specifically for Legon. So for each of the stations, we can calculate the AQI for each of the stations. But if you are in Bono, we need the data for Bono to be able to calculate the AQI for Bono. Standard. Yes, I did, my presentation show that there's air quality standard that we have, the Ghana standard, yes, for the entire country. It's a national standard. So it's for everybody, wherever you are, whether you're in Accra, you are wherever, the standard covers all. It's available. Like I mentioned, Ghana Standards Authority is the authority that is responsible. So we developed the standard in collaboration with them. So it's available. If you go to Ghana Standards Authority, you get a copy.
I'll be glad if you can help us with the website so that we can easily see that this is the standard for Ghana so that researchers can relate to it. Thank you.
It is not on the website, but we can talk. If you go to Ghana Standards Authority, you can get a copy. But since the standard was published, we have created awareness for a number of stakeholders. And I'm sure you haven't been part of it, but it's something that is ongoing. So maybe one of these awareness creation sessions, or you'll be invited. Yeah.
Thank you. Alex from Kampala. My question still goes to the Ghana EPA and specifically about the monitoring. I was imagining, I don't know why, maybe that's how it's happening in most countries, that the EPA is at policy and regulatory level, because I think Ghana implements a decentralization policy for service delivery, but also for politics. So I was now imagining that the local governments and lower level agencies conduct the monitoring on their own, and then you provide the standards, the regulatory and legal framework in which they are supposed to do the monitoring. But from your presentation, it appears that the Ghana EPA is actually doing the monitoring. And I'm imagining whether you have the capacity to monitor the entire country, to have the community engagement and involvement and community ownership of all this across the entire country. Maybe you can shed some light on that.
As I shared with you from our functions, we have that mandate to do the monitoring. So we establish the monitoring locations to do the monitoring. But things are changing now. Now, individuals are monitoring. We are also involving the private sector to assist in the monitoring. And we have developed a standard and looking at regulations. In the regulations, we are giving responsibility to other stakeholders to also be involved in the monitoring. For example, the air quality management plan that we have prepared for Greater Accra region. we are looking at having air quality management plans for each of the major cities in Ghana. So if we have to do that, then we need all the stakeholders on board, and the district assemblies play a critical role in this. But when it comes to the monitoring, for now, the mandate that EPA has to do the monitoring. These assemblies are not mandated, but I'm sure going forward, there will be some of the monitoring responsibilities that will be shifted onto the assemblies.
Thank you. I'm Christiana from University of Cape Coast. This goes to EPA again. In your presentations, that is findings from monitoring activities, that is the last but one and last point, levels of PM 2.5 in Accra. You said some were below and others exceed the limits of 35 and 70 microgram per milligram, respectively. I want to know something. EPA, we will say in the country, you are protecting our health. And from here, how much are your readings above? I want to know. I want to know because last year, there was a survey that Accra is polluted, and it became a news everywhere, and everyone was worried. We know that in 2021, there was a population census, and there was new population that was for like Ghana, we have increased. And we know urbanization in Ghana, Accra is the most affected. And we know population is increasing. Meanwhile, your last point, you also said monitoring in the past showed low levels. How past is this results? Is it a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades? What is happening? It seems the scientific community, we are worried because we don't know what is happening. If you don't really do your own research to know what is going on, we don't know what is happening. EPA, US EPA, they've been forecasting what is happening in the country. So that at the end of the day, policymakers, the general public, we can all come together to say that, oh no, this is happening, so let us help ourselves. But if we don't know what is really happening in the country from EPA, and it's like everybody sits we are all worried, scientific community, we don't know where to go sometimes, and we don't know what is happening. Please, EPA, help Ghana and help us, because our health, now, there are a lot of issues going on. Sometimes we don't know whom to ask, where to go, whether public health personnel or EPA or where to go. So please, we want the values out. I know you may think that it will create panic, but science communicators in the country can also help to communicate this very well, so that at the end of the day, we will all help. Thank you.
Thank you. The monitoring activity started somewhere in 1998. And that was where the initial monitoring was done. And then the gases and the particulates were monitored. But after that, the particulate matter monitoring is a continuous thing. The monitoring locations that we have, we use the gravimetric method, minivol, and then the high volume samplers. And the monitoring is done every 6 days. So every 6 days, we do the monitoring at each of the locations that we are monitoring. So the data is available. But we said that some were within and some were above, because we know that we have different climatic conditions. Depending on the season, the level may be high or the level may be low. And as some of the presenters showed the last 2 days, so especially during the Harmattan season, the levels are high. And depending on where you are monitoring and the activities around, the sources of pollution around, you may record high values. So yes, we have been monitoring. I indicated that we were sharing some of the air quality index, but at a point it was stopped, and now we have started. And from the way forward, that we are going to improve upon that. So where we are doing the monitoring, we'll try as much as we can to share the information with the public. But the issue is that for most of the monitoring locations, the gravimetric method, it gives a passive result. Okay, so the incident would have happened before we get there, because we go and mount the equipment for 24 hours before we take it and then do the analysis. So by the time we get the results, the issue would have passed. So that is why now we are getting the real-time monitors, the reference monitors that you have in the locals. And for that, we'll be able to share the information. That is what we are working towards. So I don't know, we also looking at extending the monitoring locations. Initially, we started only in Accra, but now we have some few local sensors in some, and then we are looking at extending. But it's also good to know that there are other individuals and organizations that are also doing monitoring, like the Breathe Air project, for instance, which EPA is supporting, also gathering data that can be shared with the public.
Still on Ghana EPA. I would like to know whether you have any plans of, relating with the academia in modeling some of this into forecast. Because now we need to tell the citizenry that possibly today, by this time, this is what may happen. So those who are asthmatic patients, be careful and know what you take along. This is where the world is going to. And the earlier question I asked, I'm a researcher in Avrongo. So if I need the data, I have to come to Accra, 17 hours, and get standard from Accra EPA. Please help us.
No, please. We know EPA, we have regional offices. And I mentioned that with the standard, the Ghana Standards Authority has it. But if you want the levels for the parameters, you can walk to any of the EPA offices, and then you get it. Each of the region, there is a regional office there. So you can walk to any of the regional offices. But now with technology, you don't need to travel 17 hours. You can just, either you make a call or you send a letter. Sorry? Website. No, the standard, like I said, is not on our website, because Ghana Standards Authority was involved in the development of the standard. So it is not on our website, but it's available. Like I said, I cannot give you the entire standard. But if you want the levels for some of the parameters, I can get that for you. Yeah.
Please, yesterday you talked about access to data. So can you collaborate with the Ghana Standard Authority to just maybe release the information online? For instance, you are working on air pollution and you've gotten some data. You go online, you go, WHO standard, it just pops out quickly. But your own country, you don't have any values to compare. So if the work has been done, then the data should be made available. So after getting the data, if you don't make it available to the people, then they are not going to be informed. So I think Ghana EPA should collaborate with the Ghana Standard Authority to release the data online. Thank you very much.
All right. You mean
the standard question from other sectors apart from EPA?
Yes. What our colleagues, our participants from Ghana are pointing out here is a general problem in Africa between the governments, agencies sometimes, and the universities. There is a gap. There's no collaboration. This is a major problem that we are having. We see that sometimes they are carrying out projects all over the country. They are putting some local sensors, but we, as staff, researchers, we are not informed. We are not informed. This is a pity that we are working like that. Sometimes they are having the standards, but we are not informed. We are not aware of that. They're having some results, some data, but we are not informed. This is the problem. So maybe For instance, for the people in Ghana, as I would say, for people in Senegal or in Ivory Coast or in Benin, what we need to do sometimes is that a government agency like EPA Ghana could have a meeting with universities for researchers, for instance. Researchers, yes, at least once per year. This can help a lot in order to bridge the gap in the information. This is something that we need to work on. Is what I wanted to say.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I forgot to respond to your question on the modeling. You know, in the past, a number of trainings have been conducted, and it involved a number of stakeholders, some of whom were from the academia. We can't involve everybody. But once there is a representative, we expect that if there is the need for you to collaborate, we can always discuss that, and then we look at how we can carry it forward. Because the communication is a two-way. If we are not coming, you are also not coming, there will be no communication. But if you think there is a way that we can help, because all that we are doing is helping the nation, so we can have that conversation and then we see how best we can. Thank you.
I think I want to say something also. I wanted to ask, what is your collaborative relationship with the academia and with the researchers? But they've already asked. And I want to comment also that in Nigeria, we're having a strong collaborative relationship with our Environmental Protection Agency. We are in collaboration together with University of Lagos and LASEPA. And even while I am here, 2 days ago, my group and LASEPA, they were together deploying our sensors. So we work together. I think it's best to work together. It's best to just collaborate together. That's a good example that I'm giving you.
There is collaboration. Most of the things that we do, we collaborate with the academia. Like the AQMP, Dr. Alison is here from the University of Ghana. So there are things that we do, and then we collaborate with the academia to do it. But of course, collaboration, there can always be improvement. So we can look at going forward, how best we can improve.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Victor. Yes, I think collaboration is really a way to go in each country in Africa, because there are a huge gap between the different level of responsibilities at the national level, university, and cities. That's why it's important to formalize the collaboration using protocol approach, like as we have with the Ministry of Environment and the City of Dhaka for more than 10 years for data sharing and data access. So we realize that in most African cities, this is the main problem, because lack of data and lack of access to data, especially for cities. And I think that cities have their role to play in these issues because they are closer to the citizens. Thanks.
I think we can just take one more question, please. Thank you. And
thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. We're so cold. I say good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. Let me move a little away from Ghana EPA. I want to look at a situation that is being created now. Maybe someone will help to see how and to provide some solution. We're emphasizing data access, globalization. And at the same time, we're encouraging community ownership. And ownership may involve keeping resource, in which case they will not be available. The kind of challenge we're discussing, incidentally mentioning EPA, they have some data, is not available to the public. How are we encouraging research? If we encourage ownership, we cannot at the same time, maybe ironic, at the same time to say we are encouraging data access. I think this conference can look at that possibility. And two, the manufacturers. Because in some platforms, there is a clause either to make your data available or to keep it. But data collected on air pollution is a benefit for society. And like someone mentioned here, it should be a human right to know how you are affected. And such data should not be private. It should not be confidential in any way. I do not see any implications there, unless in situations where, like some multinationals, they have something to hide. So they put up a sensor there, or they monitor the air, and they do not want someone else to know. Then they falsify the results. But I think there should be a move and advocacy that should encourage more data access than data ownership.
Thank you so much. And think we.
It will help response.
Okay, 30 seconds, please, because you're over time.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's something we call fear and panic, causing fear and panic. You know, I think within the law, I'm not too sure. So sometimes some of our regulatory people, they are a bit, you know, careful to release certain sensitive information to the public, especially if much of the population is not so enlightened scientifically. And so sometimes if you say there's this and this in the water, then nobody will drink the water anymore or will have nothing to do with the water anymore. I happen to sign an undertaking with a national institution, you know, concerning fear, and not to disclose, you know, an information because it will cause fear and panic. Yes, and I agree with them to some extent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think 10 seconds, please, because you're.
Yeah, I think we confusing two things. What the lady asked was asking about the standard, which I said is being owned by Ghana Standards Authority, so it's available. But yesterday there was a discussion on the data. If you need data and then you come to EPA, you get the data that you need. So I think that distinction will have to be made. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to our presenters. Yeah, on that note, return.
And thank you for running the session. Okay. Our next topic is the policy management now. So Dr. Garland, Dr. Indasi, other folks who are running the session, could you please come up? And there is coffee and snacks in the back. So if you'd just like to wander up there during the session, get something to eat or drink, that's just great.
From the virtual audience here, please note that we're switching to the next session so that the virtual presenters can join. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. So this is a good segue to the policy session. We've already had.
Victor, could you pause? Sorry, could you pause for a moment while we switch our Zooms where the other virtual presenters are?
Yep.
Please.